The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
Amazing.
Hey, yo.
The intro has stolen your thunder. It's already done the hey yo.
It's in case I forget. To be honest, I don't forget. I never forget. I just sometimes get sidetracked and have to chuck it in later, don't I?
You do.
It's Tuesday, Magsy. This is a bit weird, isn't it?
I know. Tuesday, CW Tuesday.
There we go.
We've been usurped by Cruff's Dog Show. That's what it is.
Wow.
That's why we're on Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's it. New Year's Day yesterday. So Happy New Year, Magsy, first of all. Happy New Year, CWF.
Happy New Year to one and all.
Yeah, there we go. We had the volley live yesterday here on SJP World Media, looking at Liverpool Newcastle. I jumped on there for a bit, Magsy. I
Did
25 minutes. Yeah, it was good. It was good. They were talking a lot of United and issues at the club and all that, and I was in the chat anyway. And I sort of just said to them, I'll jump on, boys, if you're talking United, because it's a lot easier to do that.
World straight.
Well, I don't know about that. I spent a lot of my time slagging off Martial. I remember that.
I mean, because it's all his fault.
No, that's not all his fault. He's just fucking useless, isn't he?
90% of his fault.
You know, I'm 40, very close to being 43. I've got 2 knackered knees, a knackered back, and I'm incredibly overweight. And I reckon I could run more in a Premier League match than Anthony Martial does.
Yeah. I watched his debut when I was on holiday in Turkey. The very same holiday where I basically destroyed my knee at a water park. And he scored. He scored, didn't he, on his debut against Liverpool?
Yeah.
And it just looked like he had so much promise.
Yep.
Like maybe was it 18 million they paid Monaco at the time? It was a ridiculous amount.
It was like 50. It was just shy of 60, wasn't it? It was like 57, 58 million.
I think they had like some ridiculous add-on fees and release clauses and things like that. So it's very unlikely they would ever make that money back. So there was a lot of weight on Martial's shoulders. And that first game, I thought, this guy's got it. And then he just never got better than that, really.
No. He had moments. He's a good finisher, let's be honest. He's pretty calm in front of goal. He's got a bit of ability, but it's just try harder, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, his attitude. He is the epitome of everything that's wrong with the Manchester United players and squad at the moment with regards to attitude and application and effort. But there we go. This is not a football podcast. This is, believe it or not, a wrestling podcast. Very, very loosely stated as being a wrestling podcast. Very loosely stated indeed. But there we go. Magsy, new year, new start, new intro. I'm looking forward to this. I've missed not seeing your little beautiful round Burnley face.
Same old Pillocks.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it has literally. It's been less than 2 weeks since you've seen my cherubic Burnley face.
Cherubic. aren't cherubs like the little angels?
Yeah. So there you go. So if the cap fits, wear it.
Right. Okay. Speaking of caps, actually, you're telling me a story about the cap you're wearing right now, aren't you?
Yeah. So straight away, as soon as I come into the green room, your first comment was, "Got a new cap?" And I said, "No, I haven't. I'm wearing this cap in honor of the match that we'll be covering later on today." So this is a biscuit party hat for anyone who's watching on the live. And basically, it was a giveaway from a company called Cracker Barrel. Connor will probably know, being our American contingent, that Cracker Barrel is kind of like a restaurant in the States. And they were heavily involved with the Elite and helped promote All In. I think they were one of the match sponsors as well. And they did a giveaway of 1,000 caps to Cracker Barrel patrons, I suppose, people who visited Cracker Barrel. So I emailed in and said I had visited Cracker Barrel, and they sent me over the pond. They sent me a biscuit party hat. I have never yet, nor do I intend to go to a Cracker Barrel. We don't have Cracker Barrel in the UK, and I certainly haven't visited one in the States. So I basically am wearing a stolen hat in honor of it All In.
There could be a little kid, 5, 6 years old, loves the Bucks, Cody and Nick Aldis, desperate for his Cracker Barrel hat.
This to that little kid. Fuck you.
Oh, weird. I'm glad to see that we've not changed. We've gone from 1 year to another.
Same old pillars.
Yeah, there we go. On that note, Maxie, we should probably start the show for the first time in 2024. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media production. Episode 142, Magsy, if I'm counting this up correctly.
110 live, so I think that's accurate.
Yes. So we're fast approaching episode 150. Should we do something special for that?
Nah, fuck these lot. Nah.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I like the sound of that. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the all-in to my not very thin, the 10 pounds of gold to my 42 years of being very old, a podcaster I haven't seen since last year. Ooh, dad jokes. The podfather himself, Jesus. Lord Mags. How are we doing, my friend?
Can you leave your comedy in the 1980s, please? Yeah, I'm doing really well. I had a nice, relaxing Christmas. Itching to get back into recording. I know we said over the episode just before Christmas that we were potentially going to do something in between that gap of Christmas and the New Year. So I'm glad we came together and pulled it out, because I could not have gone till the 8th without seeing you again. So yeah, glad to be back in the saddle. Yeah, all of y'all, all the CWF.
Did you just say all of y'all, as in like
y'all?
I'm wearing hats.
Y'all,
isn't it? So it's
it is. I'm waiting for my Make America Great Again one to turn up. Then I'll be proper American.
Dear me. Shall we see who has joined us in the chat, Magsy, before we get on with today's show?
Yes, we shall. So Dan Griffin, very, very confused. Dan Griffin says it's not Monday. None of us know what the fuck is going on. Happy New Year, CWF. And then he pissed off to go and watch the darts, which I don't blame him, because the 16-year-old lad has been absolutely kicking arse in the darts this year. So yeah, is he called Liam Littler or something like that?
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing. Sharon, the first lady of the CWF and SJP World Media Network, says it's Tuesday night. None of us really know what that means. It's Tuesday, CW Tuesday. That's what it is. We're bringing you a special edition because we didn't want to leave you without. King Pig's Planet, again, thanks to him for the amazing artwork. Time and again, he just pulls it out of the bag and provides us with great quality graphics. So we'll always be appreciative of that. He says, Happy New Year. And then Man United are still shit. I mean,
they are.
Never have two statements been so true. Connor, again, our American contingent, says, hello, Si and Mags. Finally got a fucking job in Sweden. No, I swear, at your age, Connor, come on.
We'll
have less than that. I know. At the place I applied 2 months ago, set for next Friday. Good start to the year, but got locked out of my football Twitter account. F Elon. Well, Elon is a tosser.
Why?
What have you done? Yeah, what have you done? Knowing Elon, he's quite a rational human being. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Clearly done something to break the rules there, Connor. So
he's probably given you several chances as well.
So maybe you should think about your actions.
Let us know, Connor.
He also says that Arsenal shit again, lads, just like we were to end every year. Well, it's your own fault for supporting the Gunners, I suppose. And then we get King's Pig Bladder saying, "Hey, Connor," with a C, and correcting himself with a K. Connor says he's never had Cracker Barrel, but he's heard their chicken and dumplings are some of the best around. I mean, that's worth a trip to the States alone, isn't it? Chicken and dumplings. Yeah.
Is that a normal thing, having dumplings with chicken?
I mean, I suppose if you're having chicken broth, I don't know if I'd recommend like a chicken breast and then a dumpling, a dry boiled dumpling sat on its own.
I mean, I don't know. I've got nothing to compare it to. That's a genuine question. I wasn't trying to take the piss.
We don't know that dumplings are the same here as they are in the States, because how many things are different? Pigs in blankets are different. Biscuits are different. Scones are different. So
I think what you're getting at there, Maxie, by saying different isn't quite accurate. What you mean is wrong.
Wrong, yes. I meant wrong.
We have it right.
Yeah. We absolutely do. Cam Griffin, hello, sir. How are you? He says, "Hey, yo, CWF." And then Connor says he logged out to try and get rid of ghost notifications, and now it won't let me log in because I've had too many login attempts. Can you not get like a password reset thing emailed to you?
That sounds like a mistake on your part as opposed to anyone else's.
Because it says that there you've had too many login attempts, so you attempted to log in
again and again and again.
So I think you may need to apologize to Elon Musk.
We want a public apology to Mr. Musk, please. You can type it here and we will read it. Yeah, and we will read it out on Chain Wrestling for your behalf. Because obviously,
tag him in it.
Old Elon, he watches every week, I imagine. Maxie. Hi, Elon. Maxie. We've got something slightly different, I suppose, haven't we, when it comes to how we have been starting the show in the past with regards to Hall of Lame for a long time and Hall of Fame for a little period of time. We've decided that we're going to go one of each, not both of us. I'm doing one, you're doing the other. It's going to be quite interesting. Before we get on with that, is there anything else you want to bring up?
Yes.
People, alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
I need to just get Connor's comment off the screen. Yes, I have got a pimple dick for this week. We haven't had one for a while. And if there's one thing I've learned from 30 plus years of being a wrestling fan, is never look to your favorite wrestlers as being honorable or heroes or not knobheads. Because they are going to be knobheads. So over the Christmas period, one of my favorite wrestlers, now as people, not so much, but as a wrestler, he's one of my favorites. Oh, Chris Jericho had a fun whale of a time, didn't he? So he started on Christmas Eve. His own website, Web is Jericho, posted an article about NDAs regarding the brawl at All In. Now, the article said CM Punk and Ace Steel's lawyer, who is a guy called Stephen P. New. You may have heard him be promoted on Jim Cornette's podcasts.
PN News?
No, he's called Stephen P. New.
Okay. For the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to pretend his lawyer is PN News.
Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo. Yeah. He said that there was only one person involved in that brawl and the witnesses that hadn't had an NDA, which is obviously a non-disclosure agreement. And that was Ace Steel's wife. I think he said she was called Lucy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So over the Christmas period, you get in a little bit merry. It's the season of goodwill. If you were Chris Jericho, would you A, leave it because it's a non-story, or B, chip in and be a knobhead?
Well, I know how Chris Jericho went. So
Jericho chipped in and he was a knobhead. He said that he didn't sign an NDA. So then Stephen P. New, being a lawyer, fired back and said, it's in your employee handbook. Unless you had a special one, you can figure it out. We can figure it out. To which Jericho said, I don't adhere to an employee handbook, and I've never had one in the 4 years of working with AEW. I have also never signed an NDA in my life ever. Stop trying to be a bully and making egotistical fantasy brags for your clients, and start doing some research before making blank statements about your buddies, because I saw everything that night, including how Lucy and her husband acted and what really went down. And since I was in the room and watching her and everybody else the whole time, I know exactly what really happened. And considering you weren't there and I was, maybe you should shut your mark ass up, because what went down was disgusting. Okay. So a journalist called Nick Hausman, who he's I think his website's called the House of Wrestling. He chirped in and said, but what about the NDAs that you have made other people sign?
Yes.
Which goes off onto another topic, but let's clear up the handbook thing first. Stephen P. knew, like I said, he's heavily involved with Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette has a co-host on his shows called The Great Brian Last, and The Great Brian Last has one of these copies of the AEW handbook, and he pointed out many parts where it talks about non-disclosure and about sexual harassment and about how AEW is meant to be a safe space. So Brian Last made Chris Jericho look like an absolute tool. Nick Hausman went a little bit further, because he mentioned the comment about what about the NDAs you made other people sign, and he then went on his podcast and elaborated a little bit more, talking about how there is several female wrestlers who have been made to feel incredibly uncomfortable in Jericho's presence. And because of this, few tweets and comments and allegations came back up from a few years ago, from around the Me Too, the Me Too era, where a lot of wrestlers were being outed, including one from the person who outed David Starr.
Yeah, the original accuser, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically what started the ball rolling.
Yes,
she commented that it's about time that we talk about what happened with Chris Jericho. And then it was mentioned about these NDAs coming back up again, and a certain a former AEW wrestler who was allegedly made to sign an NDA, one Carly Ray, Smiling Carly. If you remember her, she was quite an early signing to AEW, but ended up leaving after a little while. And basically nothing was really made of it at the time. And it turns out, or it is alleged, that Chris Jericho invited her back to his dressing room, and she was under the assumption that it would be like almost like a bit of a party. There'll be lots of people there, and it wasn't. It was just him, and he made several passes at her, and she felt incredibly uncomfortable, and that led to her basically leaving the company. And Chris Jericho has allegedly made her sign an NDA, so no allegations come out. Now, again, we don't. That's under an NDA allegedly, so we don't have confirmation of that, apart from Carly Ray liking and retweeting some of the tweets that mentioned that Chris Jericho has these dark clouds of allegations over him. And then, as a Brucey bonus, so Chris Jericho is certainly the pimple dick, but as a Brucey bonus in this, we recently had World's End, and Tony Khan knew that these questions were going to come up in the post pay-per-view scrum. And whilst he basically deflected the answers, he was asked if he would categorically say that Jericho hasn't sexually assaulted anyone or hasn't had any NDAs. He would not deny that that had happened. He basically just deflected the questions, and his comments about I've actually had them loaded up, but I've actually lost them. But he basically commented about AEW being a safe space in wrestling, and if you look at the track record of AEW, it is one of the safest companies around. A safe company when Matt Hardy nearly killed himself coming off a ladder. John Moxley farts multiple times with concussions and bleeds a lot. Daniel Bryan has been injured multiple times and carries on. Jungle Jack Perry and CM Punk had a fart, and he went through proper glass on purpose just to have a dig at CM Punk. And Tony Khan himself said he feared for his life when CM Punk was kicking off. So for a company that's very safe, there's a lot of incidents there. And then the kicker of it is the guy he did this whole rhetoric whilst wearing Tony Storm's bearskin hat and a massive pair of oversized sunglasses, looking like an absolute clown. So
what an idiot. 2
pimple dicks this week: Chris Jericho, the touchy-feely nonce, and Tony Khan, the coked up pillock.
Oh, dear me. I think it is very important to make sure we are stating that this is all hearsay, internet discussions, and so on. There is also the saying, of course, there's no smoke without fire, but I think you have to be incredibly difficult. You have to be incredibly careful when dealing with that scenario, because that's not always the case. And it's very easy for people to sort of snowball situations, and it can ruin people's careers, lives, and so on. I think it's also important to mention that other people who used to work for AEW and have since left the company have also said that Kylie Ray at that time had again, these are not my words, these are the words of people who have been quoted online and talking at that time. She had some mental health issues, some personality issues, some mood swing issues. I'm not going to put a tag or a label on it because it's not my place, and she also had some, I believe it was alcohol as opposed to what the wrestling term is, substance issues. I believe it was more alcohol issues as well. So there's that to take into effect of what potentially could have happened in this scenario. Also, we've got to be incredibly careful with how we talk about these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and again, I'm not going to dive into anything now because we're live on a YouTube show for the network. This podcast will come out as well in a day or two, potentially even tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. So I'm not going to say anything here that could potentially get any of us in trouble. Not that we were a big enough deal to make any ripples, but you never know how these things work. There's stories about Jericho that you hear, and again, it's hearsay. You hear somebody tell somebody from when Fozzy were touring this country. And they were playing small clubs, and one of them being a place in Cheltenham, not far from me. And I know people who were in the building. And again, these are just stories. There's no proof. There's no accusations were made. Nothing, But sometimes when there's these little bits here and there, you start thinking, okay, what's going on here? And again, all allegedly, it is what it is. Incredibly difficult scenario. But with regards to Tony Khan, that was just ridiculous.
The guy is not a wrestling promoter. The guy is a wrestling fan cosplaying as a wrestling promoter.
Money mark, Magsy. Money mark.
Yeah, he is. He is. He absolutely is.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Indeed. But there we go. A lot's going on. Hey, it wouldn't be the wrestling business if you didn't have some sort of ridiculous drama, would it?
Yeah. Oh, nonsense, yeah.
I'll tell you what's very good, actually, if people are interested in a little bit more of that information. You mentioned there Brian Last and Jim Cornette and so on. Cornette's podcasts go 4 or 5 hours sometimes, so it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what you want. But Brian Last, his co-host, cut them up into little YouTube videos about certain specific topics.
They animate them as well now, don't they?
Yeah. So if you go to YouTube and go to Jim Cornette's channel, whether it's Corny's Drive-Through or the Jim Cornette Experience, 2 different shows he does. there is a video there that's about 35 minutes long. Funnily enough, Maxie, I listened to it in the early hours of this morning when I was mocking up the new intro. And Brian Last talks about the AEW handbook that Jericho denies existing. I've seen pictures of it online, as I'm sure many other people have. Cornette talks about knowing people who were at All In or All Out or whatever it was, the event where there was the fight and so on. And he's also I think he talks about having conversations with Jericho, but I'm not sure on that. So I'll have to go back and listen. But Jericho saying, I was in the room that night. No, he wasn't.
He was out. He was in the media scrum, and then he left. Yeah. And he came back to Tony Khan and said there is trouble going on.
Yeah,
and he took over the media scrum again. So yeah,
he wasn't in the room. So he's there saying I didn't sign an NDA and all because you had nothing to sign because you weren't there, Chris.
Yeah,
but I feel that Jericho, I get the impression that he will always go to bat for the guy who's paying him, and maybe not necessarily come out with But that's just my own personal beliefs, and is what it is. And I say that we don't make enough ripples for us to really get noticed when we talk about these sort of things. But just on the off chance we do, Jericho, if you don't like it, fuck you. There you go.
The moral of the story is wrestlers are pillars majority of the time.
Exactly. Shall we scan through the chat, Mr. Mags, before we get on with something a little bit more positive and then something a little bit more negative?
We shall. So this one will go with straight away. I'm not happy about this one. My eldest says she likes you the best. Sorry, Mags. I mean,
thank you very much.
I can understand why. Sa is lovable, whereas I am horrific. So that's fair.
You are the grouchy one of the two, aren't you?
And I swear a lot as well.
You do swear a lot. And I would say it's not even 8:30 yet, and there are young children watching. Perhaps we should avoid that.
I'm still running off 9 o'clock time. So
brilliant.
Apologies to any youngins watching. Connor says wrestlers being shit humans go together like sauce and shredded cheese on hot dogs. Grated cheese.
It's like grated, isn't it?
Yeah, Connor, you trigger me. You're going to be next week's Pimple Dick if you keep coming out with stuff like that. Kingpin says still no confirmation or any proof with the Jericho sexual assault allegation. Yeah, absolutely.
So got to be very careful with that.
And that's why I said allegedly a lot, but.
And again, you have got to be really careful. I mean, I'm not going to dive into details. I have touched upon it in the past, and I suppose one day it will eventually become a situation where I sit down and I discuss it more openly. But you have got to be so careful with these sorts of things. I literally not long ago ended up finally clearing a debt for thousands and thousands of pounds because I had to go to court to clear my name about something that my my ex-partner made up to stop me seeing my kids.
Yeah.
And none of it happened. And she got laughed at the courtroom. And, I've got all the court paperwork for anyone to have a look at and see that she was manipulating the child. I'm not going to dive into too many details right now, but you've got to be so careful because in that scenario, I was guilty until I could prove I was innocent, as opposed to the other way around. And it's the same with this. So you have got to be so cautious not to tarnish these people when there is no actual charges or evidence and so on, haven't you? So
yeah, of course you do. Absolutely right. Connor says, wasn't there harassment allegations to Jericho too?
Yeah, we touched that, haven't we? Yeah.
Kind of what we've covered. And then he says, isn't an NDA sort of a lawyer term for no talking about this subject? Yeah, pretty much non-disclosure agreement. It's where all parties sign a document saying that they will not talk about certain subjects. And so basically, Sharon's just confirmed it there. It says in non-disclosure agreement, meaning they're not allowed to legally talk about it. Connor says, if any of this becomes true, I don't see AEW lasting much longer. I think with AEW, a lot of the gloss of it being the new thing has worn off. That and the fact they've become almost as sports entertainment as the company they were rebelling against.
Yes,
it feels like they're not the indie darling company that they used to be, I suppose.
Yeah.
King's Big Brother said that hat suited Tony. He looked like a proper dickhead, didn't with the big indoor sunglasses, and then he's trying to be serious, like a very deep question, and he's there giving a deflective answer. But he's got a fucking stupid bearskin hat on and sunglasses. He looks like a prick.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sharon doubling down, saying allegedly. Yes, absolutely allegedly. I mean,
100%.
I was not in the room with any of these situations. I'm just calling him a pimple dick, if any of it was true, or just being in that situation. I mean, my issue was the fact that he couldn't even leave this situation to die over Christmas. If he didn't comment, none of this would have happened. And he commented to a post from the person who runs his own website.
Yeah.
And he couldn't leave it. So he brought this storm on himself by not being able to just shut the fuck up. Idiot. Connor says, I saw Instagram pics of the press conference and Tony Khan just made him look like a clown. I mean, he makes himself look like a clown. King Pigbrother says, look after the hand that feeds you. Exactly. It does make sense. And an NDA normally involves a big cash incentive. Well, anyone's got any NDAs want to throw my way? I'll sign them.
All about the money, Mags. All about the money.
Exactly.
Where do you want to go next, my friend? Where do you want to go next? Something positive or something maybe not so much?
Well, I mean, we always go with me. So I suppose I should go first. And seeing as we're on a negativity route, let's keep on going down that road.
The Hall
So
what you got for us, Mags?
This week is a doozy. So strap in, folks. New year, New Year's resolutions, the time to turn over a new leaf and reinvent yourself, I suppose. Now, you go back 24 years till the turn of the millennium, and there was a certain wrestling company that was doing its best to turn over a new leaf, maybe perhaps gain back the fans and the love that they'd lost over the past 18 months or so. And that company was WCW. Brilliant. So what I want to look at is the amount of title changes WCW had in the year 2000.
Oh, no.
So let's go.
I'm going to go put the kettle on because this is going to take a while, isn't it?
It definitely is. So we start in January, obviously. January, we have Bret Hart as the champion. We get to January the 16th. The title is vacated because obviously Bret Hart got injured. Then Chris Benoit won the title. It was then vacated the very next day because Benoit left the company.
Yeah, they put the belt on him and he left the next day. They knew he was going.
Yeah. The belt was literally to try and bribe him to stay. Then the belt was left vacant for a full week. Sid Vicious then won the title and then dropped it the very next day when he was stripped by Commissioner Kevin Nash, who awarded himself the title that very same day and then lost it that very same day to Sid Vicious. He held on to the title for 76 days before it was then vacated on the 10th of April because all of the titles were vacated when we had the rebrand.
Yeah, the big restart thing, wasn't it, with Bischoff and Russo, yeah.
So the first WCW champion after that was 6 days later at Spring Stampede. It was Jeff Jarrett. He had the title 8 days before he dropped it to Diamond Dallas Page, who had the title 1 day before dropping it to David Arquette, who kept hold of the title for 12 days before dropping it to Jeff Jarrett, who kept hold of the title for 8 days, who then dropped it to Ric Flair. Ric Flair had it a week, and then it was taken off him by Vince Russo. Jeff Jarrett then won the belt on that very same day, before dropping it the next day to Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash held on to it till the very next Nitro, 6 days later, lost it to Ric Flair, who lost it that same day to Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett kept hold of it for over a month, 41 days, before dropping it to Booker T. That was the infamous Bash at the Beach where Hogan was sick of the bullshit, and that's why this company is going down the crapper. Booker kept hold of it for 50 days, then dropped it to Kevin Nash, who had it for 20 days, then dropped it back to Booker T for an 8-day run. When Vince Russo won the title, he kept hold of it for a week, decided he didn't want to be a wrestler, vacated the title, which was won on the 2nd of October by Booker T. Again, he kept hold of it for quite a while, 55 days, before finally dropping it in November to Scott Steiner, who held on to that title for love and money all the way through till 2001. So that's a lot of title changes. And I've got a few little factoids about it. So in the year 2000, there were 21 title reigns.
Why?
6 vacated titles.
Why?
The longest reign was Sid Vicious, 76 days. The shortest reign was tied by Kevin Nash and Ric Flair, who were both awarded the title, and they were both awarded the title by Kevin Nash, by the way, as commissioner, and then lost the title on the same show. There were 13 title reigns that were under 10 days. From April the 10th to May the 29th, no wrestler held the title for more than 2 weeks, and Jeff Jarrett had the championship on 4 separate occasions.
Why?
The title, like I said, was vacated 6 times. If you add up the days that it was vacated, that was 13 days. And the year 2000 was a leap year, so that leaves 353 days that were available for people to be champion. Divide that by the 21 holders of the title, means the average title reign in the year 2000 as WCW World Champion was 16.8 days.
Bloody hell.
So my entry for the Hall of Fame is the world title scene in WCW in the year 2000.
I mean, AEW pay-per-view just gone. MJF was the longest reigning, I know the company's only been around a few years, but longest reigning champion they've had. He's held the title over a year and so on. Him dropping the belt to Samoa Joe, that felt like a big deal because you've not seen the title change for so long. And the same goes for Roman Reigns. He's held that title for so long. When he finally drops that championship, it's going to be a big deal. I'm not saying that long title reigns always have to be the way. You can chop and change, or hot potato, I suppose is the term, isn't it? A championship, if it makes sense. I mean, you go back to Hogan's first title win. They were desperate to get the belt onto Hulk Hogan. He was going to be the big draw, the big star. He come from the AWA, all this hype and so on. He was not going to beat Bob Backlund, so they had to put it on the Iron Sheik for a few weeks in between to enable that to happen. That made sense. But all of that in WCW, that's just... There's no plan there. There was no plan, was there? They didn't know what they were going to do from week to week. And it's just unbelievable. The amount of money that was flying around that company. How can that operate that way?
Exactly. I mean, and you can even compare it with WWF at the heart of the Attitude Era. There was a lot of short reigns in that time. I think there's a stat where Stone Cold Steve Austin had the longest reign he had as champion was that 50 odd days.
Yeah.
But that worked because there were so many top guys who could be the champion and it looked legitimate. This was just ridiculous booking for ridiculous booking. This was people who had no clue how to book. Yeah. I mean, if a wrestler is a champion 4 times in less than 6 weeks. There is something wrong there with the booking.
You should just left it on Arquette, mate.
The fact that there was 21 title changes, or 27 if you include all the vacations, is in a year is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's going to be a part 2 to this one. About WCW in the 2000s, but we will get there at another time. That's for another show.
Okie doke. Well, that is your entrant into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame this week. Magsy, I want to put something into the Hall of Fame this week, please. If you press your little button. Random chicken. Okay.
Oh, it always makes me giggle.
This entrance into the Hall of Fame, the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame, I wanted to put in basically the very first time we did the Hall of Fame segment.
Okay.
I put it off.
You've said that 3 or 4 times, to be fair.
No. A lot of things I wanted to put in straight away, but this I purposely put off to this week. Because, well, not necessarily this week specifically, but I wanted to do it in the first show of this new calendar year. Because 2024 marks the 50th year in the professional wrestling business for somebody who I'm a massive fan of and somebody who has been hugely influential on screen and off. Sorry?
Mantar.
Fuck Mantar. I'll tell you what, actually, you're going to start me off now, right? I appreciate some people may not understand everything that goes on, and I appreciate some people may not. They mean well, but there's so many wrestling pages on Facebook that are ran by
R.I.P. Mantar. R.I.P. Mantar.
Wrestlers we've lost this year, and you've got images of Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, and it's such a shame, and all this sort of stuff. And then fucking Mantar's on the same picture. Fuck that dude. You know, homophobic, transphobic piece of shit. Fuck him. Anyway. This is supposed to be a positive segment, Magsy. Don't trigger me, please. It's not Barry Windham. It's not Barry Windham.
No, I think he was on the list of like dead wrestlers.
Whoa. What is wrong with you? No.
Wow. Allegedly.
This individual has been hugely important to so many different wrestling companies and different eras of professional wrestling. Hugely important behind the scenes in the old Mid-South territory. Started there in 1974. When it was called something else, Tri-State, I believe, before Bill Watts bought it and turned it into Mid-South a year or two later or whatever. This guy has refereed, started his career as a referee. He's also worked behind the scenes in talent relations, recruitment, and all this sort of stuff. So many wrestlers that you saw in the Attitude Era, this guy signed for the WWE. That class of OVW, and there's a particular class that had Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, John C. This guy signed all of those guys. Batista, yeah. This guy signed all of them. And then add to that as well, there's the occasion where New Japan were trying to break out into the English-speaking audience a bit more, shall we say, openly, freely with their streaming service. This guy was one of the first English voices on a New Japan product on Access TV in the States and so on. Huge stepping stone for New Japan there for where, you know, and again, that obviously leads to AEW. And this guy was a big part of the start of AEW. So much behind the scenes that you know probably doesn't get the recognition for in his career, but on screen is where people will remember this guy and remember him forever. And this guy was the soundtrack of my wrestling fandom ever since I was a child. I'm talking about good old JR, Jim Ross. 50 years in the wrestling business this year. That, first of all, is incredible. But you look at all the different roles he has fulfilled, all the different companies he has worked for, and other scenarios as well. The time in London when he was going to be calling Capital Carnage for WWF pay-per-view, and he found out that day, I think it was his mother had passed away, and the stress triggered another attack of the Ball's palsy that he suffers from. He still went out and called the show Little things like that are incredible. We speak about great moments in professional wrestling, iconic moments in professional wrestling. Hogan's first title win was a big moment. You see stuff with Roman Reigns now. The Rock turning up on Monday Night Raw last night's going to get replayed over and over again. Punk turning up in AEW. The first was it the first Rampage magazine? It was, wasn't it?
Mhm.
You know, all these, the TLC matches, all these historic moments throughout the years. With Vince McMahon's iconic call of "The boyhood dream has come true" with Shawn Michaels and so on. All these iconic moments in professional wrestling. So many of them, not all, but so many of them, have this man's voice attached to them. Now imagine Austin, the Stone Cold character, winning his first title at WrestleMania 14, and take away Jim Ross's commentary.
Yep.
It's not the same. You imagine
Stone Cold's career wouldn't be the same without Jim
there
Ross.
you go. Mick Foley coming off the top of the cell, and those iconic, sentences and comments by Jim Ross were stemming from genuine concern for his friend, but also just legendary terms that are going to be living on. I mean, that was 1998. That was years and years and years ago, but they still live on in our memory now. All the calls of how much he hates Triple H and he's a no good son of a bitch and
You no good bastard.
and then obviously going to AEW and also World of Sport in this country. He called some matches for there when they tried to do the reboot there, and the influence he's had on younger talent as well. Everyone knows how much of a big fan of Jim Ross I am. I've done a little tiny bit of wrestling commentary myself, and when I listened back to it, I wasn't Simon doing wrestling commentary. I was Simon doing a shit JR impression because I couldn't help myself because this guy is an absolute hero to me. So yeah,
Did
50.
you say gold?
I did not. But there you go. 50 years in the wrestling business. Jim Ross, I salute you. Absolutely fantastic. One of the biggest things at the moment for Maxie is my little girl adores Jim Ross on commentary as well. So I'm getting to experience that with her as well at the moment.
That's
So yeah, Jim Ross this week into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. As heavy WWE fan, he was the voice. He made all the big calls, and he was one of the few non-wrestling personalities that you could really get behind as being a fan of. I mean, if you remember all the times that Vince McMahon has had a laugh at Jim Ross's expense, you rallied behind Jim Ross. He ended up being more than a commentator. He ended up being a character. Yeah, and he's called all the big spots. Like you said, Stone Cold. Yeah. Austin wants Tyson. Tyson wants Austin.
Just so many memories. Yep.
Yeah, he's the voice of our childhood. Yeah,
and you think pre WrestleMania 9, he was working for WCW. So I was hearing him on WCW shows and so on as well. And just so many great memories, just an absolute legend and rightfully into the WWE Hall of Fame. He's in, I think, like 4 or 5 different Hall of Fames as well. And now he's obviously in ours, which is a segment by name. We're not going to present Jim Ross with anything. I mean, what does the guy need? But there we go. There's a comment there in the chat I just want to address very quickly by Pigs Matters himself. Well, I didn't see that one actually saying he's now retired from commentary, he's dialing it in. And then there's a secondary comment from Pigs Matters saying he's a legend, but time to stop tarnishing the legacy. Sorry, put my teeth in. This to me comes down to personal preference. I've got no issue at all with Jim Ross at the age he's at now, 71, 72, whatever. Still, getting treatment for cancer and all the health issues he's had and so on. I've got no issues at all about Jim Ross coming out and calling a main event on Collision. If anything, it makes it feel more special that he's only doing the one match. And yeah, Jim Ross will get the name of moves wrong. Jim Ross will get the name of wrestlers wrong sometimes. But now it's got to that point where it just kind of adds to the charm. And when Jim Ross came out to call a Collision main event many weeks ago now, and his music hit, I looked across at my daughter Charlie because I knew this was going to happen. She didn't. And her little face lighting up because Jim Ross was coming out to call the match. And part of that is because she knows how much I love the guy. But also she's got her own adoration for this legend in the business now as well. I don't believe at all that saying Pigs Bladder's there saying he sounds like he doesn't care. I'm not sure that's the case. He's an old man. He's been ill. And if you listen to his podcast and read his books and so on, he openly states in all of these that he struggles when you get into commentary booths with 4 or 5 voices.
Yeah.
Crazy difficult.
He's always said he's never been a fan of more than a two-man booth.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, for me, on his podcast this week, he was talking about Sting's last match in Baltimore, where it all began and so on. And he says that he hopes he's well enough, and he's given permission to call that with Tony Schiavone, because obviously it goes way back to the 80s when they called the original in Baltimore against Flair and so on. That would make it for me. That'd be a wonderful moment, and it's moments like that I look forward to. So yeah, there you go. My entrant is good old JR.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can kind of see King Pigs Bladder's point from the view of a fan who has grown up with him in the Attitude Era and previous, and you look at his work now, and it's not up to that level, but he's aged, he's been very ill, he's lost his wife. I think if Jim Ross didn't do something in the wrestling business, I think he would just give up.
Yeah.
In terms of he would have nothing else to live for. This is his life. Yep. He's been in this business for, like you said, 50 years.
Magsy, sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to back up exactly what you've said there. I know you don't listen to podcasts yourself at great length anymore. Jim Ross has frequently said that on his own show. If it wasn't for doing his podcast, now he lives alone and all this sort of stuff, and also having AEW to go and work for occasionally. Magsy's gone green. Oh, you're back. Okay. You went green then for a second. I don't know what happened there. Yeah. What you're saying there is virtually what Jim Ross has said himself, mate. So,
yeah. So if he's not going to be the pinnacle that he was in the Attitude Era, but the guy still clearly loves the sport. Or he loves the entertainment. So having Jim Ross in the world and fluffing his lines and fluffing moves and getting a bit cantankerous on commentary is, for me, is a lot better than not having Jim Ross. So I'm happy to give him a pass for that.
There we go.
But it's a great pick. Jim Ross deserves all of the plaudits.
I think so. Magsy, do we have much in the chat to dive into? Or shall we?
Yeah, Sharon has said she'll pay me in the form of a dairy milk and an NDA towards slagging off bubbly chocolate. Listen, there are some things that I cannot sign an NDA to, and one of I will have to always slag off bubbly chocolate. I will burst, ironically, like a bubble if I don't get to vent that hatred for bubbly chocolate. King Pigs Bladder says, "Are you sure that's right? It seems like it should have been more." I think he's commented on
title changes.
The title changes. Yeah, it was ridiculous. 21 and then 6 vacant. So 27. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So we've obviously gone through a lot of the points that King Pigs Bladder says about JR. And yeah, you're making cogent points there, but again,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that my opinion differs to yours. That's all. And that's the beauty of talking about pro wrestling.
He then also says backstage he can stay as long as he wants. Yeah, that's fair enough. And I've always had not always, but I've recently had the mindset that Jim Ross has as a almost like a sit down backstage interview would be absolutely brilliant, because he would have then the time to formulate his script better. But again, I seen Jim Ross on TV. It just brings a smile to people's faces, whether he gets it right or not. So yeah, I definitely cannot. I cannot wish for Jim Ross to go away, because it just means so much to the wrestling world.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how I feel. Magsy, we better get on then with our non-wrestling topic this week, the first one of the new year.
We shall.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
big belch. Okie doke. Our non-wrestling topic this week is, going to be pretty predictable, Magsy, I suppose, wasn't it? It was always going to be something along these lines. New Year's resolutions or plans that the CWF have, or what would you like to see from sport, entertainment, anything at all for the upcoming next 12 months? And we had a very mixed, varied, interesting, set of responses, Mags, didn't we?
We did. The CWF never failed to surprise and horrify me.
Fair enough. I will read them out in the order they came into us, which is a blatant fucking lie because I realized I deleted
the order I screenshotted them.
Yes, and I screenshotted one and deleted it just before we went live. I had to go back and screenshot it again. So it's in completely the wrong order. But if I don't say that, it sets off my OCD.
It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick now, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
It means nothing. It's just lies.
We begin with Laura Rain on Twitter at PokerQU33N19897 is the handle there for Laura. She says, another Saw film. I want to get more tattoos and get my home done up. I want to go out more. It would be funny as hell if they brought back Ladette to Lady as well, because that was pure funny as fuck. Now, Ladette to Lady, that was a reality show, wasn't it?
I have no idea. It's a comment that I have not got as well.
Okay. Ladette to Lady, it was like a bit of a tomboy kind of effort, getting turned into, the dress and the hair and all that sort of stuff. From what I remember.
And she wants that to return.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair play to you. I mean, I hope your dream comes true, Lisa Butcher Numbers.
Another Saw film. I think that is another Saw film, isn't there?
So is it Saw 10 on the way, something like that?
I don't know.
I'm sure that there is. I've seen an advert for it.
That'll make Laura happy there. So yeah, lovely to hear from you as well. Moving on, we have Chris Bellis at Real Chris Bellis on Twitter. What do you mean? Here we go. Are you gonna?
It's because I had it in the middle of the screen. I had a suspicion that Chris Bellis will be the next one up.
Okay, good stuff. Chris says, without copping out too much, after a crappy end to 2023, I'd settle for a healthy wife and a happy life. I go along with that, and it's not copping out. Chris has told me personally about issues and so on that are happening at home, and all I can say is that my family, and the CWF, Magsy, wish you the best, Chris. Lots of love, my friend. Lots of love.
Absolutely. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be happy and to be healthy. So, Chris, it's definitely not a cop out. And we send all our love and best wishes to you.
Indeed. Chris also says, I'd also like to end 2024 having met more of you lovely lot, as well as continuing to build the One Man's Meat Pod brand. Happy New Year, CWF. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And keep plugging away at it, Chris. One of my life mantras has always been dream, believe, achieve. And I'm sure if you are passionate enough about One Man's Meat to make it a success, it will be a success.
Yeah, 100%. We have Jimmy Evans at Jimmy Evans for real on Twitter.
I love Jimmy Evans.
Jimmy's a legend, isn't he?
He does not fuck about. He's no time for writing soliloquies or paragraphs or diatribes. He's straight in and out.
Yeah, exactly. Straight to the point. And if you want more information, he almost gives you a fuck you for asking, which I love as well. So we'll get to that now. Jimmy says, I would like to go to a concert that I didn't get to go to last year. I didn't know whether that meant something was cancelled or he didn't get tickets, or if it was just a general feeling of wanting to go to more gigs. So I asked, which particular concert did you have in mind, mate? And he responded, hard rock or alternative. So anything in general, I suppose, anything that fits that genre. So yeah, fair play.
But he just says what he needs to say in the least amount of characters possible. Exactly. Jimmy was ideal for the original Twitter.
Yeah,
he does not need 140 characters. Straight in and out.
He'll
never change, Jimmy.
Exactly. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. And let us know as well if you do get to those gigs. Drop us a message. Let us know how you get on with them. I mean, I'm assuming
he's not going to do that. He's
if he does,
never going to do that.
If he does, he'll just say, it was good or it was bad. That'll be it. But I look forward to the reviews. Steve-O, not at Total Steve-O on Twitter any longer.
Yes, he's changed.
And this is why I think we didn't get a Steve-O section before Christmas, because I just copy and paste the list of the people in the CWF, and his Twitter handle had changed then. So he didn't get the notification, Magsy. So that's on me. So I apologize.
It is on you. So sorry about that, Steve-O. I work with chimps.
Oh, for God's sake. So if he's not total Steve-O anymore, what are we getting here? Like 3/4 Steve-O? Half of Steve-O?
No, he's elite FPL Steve-O. That's more than
underscore. At elite FPL underscore Steve-O.
Which is, props to Steve-O. Again, kind of like Chris Bellis. He's promoting his brand. And I know him and Jason do a lot of hard work for the elite FPL. So, yeah, good on you for pushing that brand, Steve-O.
Indeed. Steve-O says, it would be nice to meet a girl I can connect with that's actually single. Yeah, you got to stop sleeping with all those married ladies, mate.
Yeah. That's a dream. That's the dream, folks. A nice girl that's actually single.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously not for you. You're married, Magsy. You don't need to find a nice girl.
Well,
okay, let's move on.
Mrs. Max is the best.
Steve-O says he wants to actually do well in fantasy football. I think he does quite well, doesn't he? Better than me.
Well, no. He's for somebody whose brand is about FPL, he hasn't been doing the best lately. But
he was top of the
it's about the
Burnley
fun.
League, wasn't he? Did he top the Burnley League for like the one that's set up with all the Burnley fans?
Of 3. It was the top of 3.
What, 3 divisions or 3 fans?
3 fans. Just 3.
Okay. Well, I actually think that's an incredible achievement to be top of that, and you're a prick for trying to downplay it, Mags. He's
a star. He's Steve-O.
Steve also says he wants to continue doing what I'm doing with Jason on Elite FPL. Yeah, definitely. I checked in a couple of times recently on some shows. I always enjoy what they do.
And even if you're not as interested in fancy football, and the chemistry between the two guys is really, really good. I mean, it's almost as good as us. And that's saying something. So yeah, it'd be fun to check them out. And the way they really involve their community is it's great. It's all inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. Steve-O continues. Would never happen, sadly, but Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant getting back together to create a new sitcom or comedy drama. He says it would never happen. Have they fallen out? Do they not get along, or do they just have no interest?
No, I think they're still incredibly close friends. It's just Gervais is a big Hollywood hotshot now, isn't he? He drops a Netflix comedy special, and pretty much everybody watches it. So, but saying that, them two together did make magic.
Yeah, very true. Steve-O also says Detectorists to come out with a season 4.
Yes, I solidly back this one as a very late comer to the Detectorists. Me and the wife essentially binged the show over a couple of weeks late last year. It's bloody brilliant. It's a bloody brilliant show. I do disagree with Steve-O when he said the Christmas special, the sign-off show, was crap. I thought it was bloody hilarious. So yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I mean, I watched it purely because Steve-O recommended it to me, and I completely misunderstood what it was going to be about. I thought it was going to be about detectives, like police.
No, detectorists, metal detector people.
Speaking of detectives, Steve-O also says a new Line of Duty series.
Yeah, that's the show that I've never watched.
Nor have I, but my sister says it's fucking amazing.
I'll tell you what, going off topic, over the last couple of days, I've been watching a program called Shetland.
Okay.
Now, this show's apparently 10 years old. It's been going for like ages, and I've never even heard of it. And it's bloody brilliant. I'm 2 seasons in, and it's bloody brilliant.
So what is that about?
So the Shetland, the archipelago in Scotland, like with the islands and things like that.
Yeah,
it's a police like murder drama set around the island of Shetland.
But
I'll tell
nobody
you what.
lives there, do they?
No, it's actually it's quite populated.
Okay.
So, but it's just really good. It's
Okay.
each kind of story goes over like 2 episodes, kind of almost like Jonathan Creek, if you remember Jonathan Creek.
Yeah. I
with
just like Jonathan Creek.
murders and stuff like that. It's kind of like that, but a lot of dodgy Scottish accents. But yeah, a lot of the storylines revolve around like the sea and things like that. But yeah, I'm well into it. I'm going to catch up on all. I think there's 8 seasons of it. Hopefully in the next few weeks.
I will check that out.
You will definitely not. You absolute liar.
Steve-O continues. A responder series? I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm. I can't say I've heard of Responder. So it's something that I will definitely check out.
You fucking liar. Also, Steve-O says, hoping more bands come over to this country for him to watch. He says he thinks in 2023 went to 5 or 6 gigs, which is more about cost of travel and accommodation, etc., for the bands than actually the bands not being there. To put it into perspective, I used to go to a gig a month until this cost of living crap came into play. We had a little conversation, Steve-O and I, on Twitter after this about the cost of concerts and gigs and so on. I always look at the size of the band dictates the size of the venue, because you're not going to have, say like a Metallica playing a little tiny club. I know they do it like as one-offs, but you know what I mean when they're trying to make money out of the tour. And again, I'm going back 20 years, but I can remember going to arenas and seeing the likes of Alice Cooper, Iron Maiden, Motley Crue. I can remember, I've got the ticket here still. Motley Crue was £35 in an arena. Now you're looking at 70, 75 quid a pop before transport, if you need accommodation. And then you want to go buy a t-shirt, maybe that's 30, 40 quid. It's absolutely ridiculous, Magsy.
It is. And then you get the dynamic pricing from the likes of Ticketmaster and Get Me In and things like that. So if it's a popular show or artist, the prices go ridiculously high. So yeah, it's something definitely needs to be done about the cost of tickets. I know Taylor Swift made a big deal of getting the cost of her tickets lowered, and I'm sure there was it The Cure? I want to say The Cure made sure that all tickets to their shows was 15 quid.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it's the price of anything, not even concerts, like any kind of entertainment. Going to the cinema is fucking scandalous nowadays. I remember when you could go to the cinema for 3, 4, 5 quid, and now you're looking at eight now, my dear. But now you're looking at 15 quid a ticket just to go to see a movie. It's the price of stuff is scandalous, and like I said, with the cost of living, people tightening their belts. The first thing that goes is the things that you can do without: concerts, cinema, things like that. So, yeah, I hope he goes to a lot more gigs this year.
Yeah. Matt Butler at Trey Butler on Twitter. He says, "City to do the 4-peat." That's not a thing? 4-peat? What's that?
It doesn't even have part of the word repeating, does it? But you're just adding peat.
It has peat.
No, but you're adding that. Like 3 as the RE, so it makes sense. Like,
I see what you mean.
You're just adding peat to the end of it now. 5-peat, 6-peat, 7-peat. Yeah, they don't make sense, but I hope they don't, because no one likes a monopoly in football.
No, this is true. Gene Money gets picked up by a major promotion.
Yep, absolutely. He's aging a little bit now. I think he's mid-30s, so perhaps his time it may have passed. But yeah, if anyone deserves to be picked up by a major promotion, Gene Money is certainly on that list.
Matt continues, he'd like to attend 6 or more wrestling shows. Cornette to continue being right about everything.
I mean, we've already waxed lyrical about Cornette.
Indeed.
Yes, we have.
appear on 4 or more podcasts. Well, reach out, Matt. I've got a few that I could,
You could
I've got one or two.
or with Sa in the space of a week if you really
You
wanted
could do.
to.
You could indeed. Go back to East Asia. Interesting. Okay.
That sounds like almost like racism. Like you're telling someone, go back to East Asia, where you come from.
I don't think that's his aim. Reduce my snooker handicap to sub 35. I don't understand how that works, a handicap in snooker. So you start 35 points behind or something because you're that good or whatever.
I'm assuming he starts 35 points up.
Oh, right. I don't know.
That's what makes sense. So he's 35 points poorer than the average professional player, I would assume.
Okay.
It's like a golf handicap. So if your golf handicap is 10, that means you will average 10 extra shots round a golf course more than the par score. So I'm assuming that's what it means.
And lastly, and I don't quite understand this, lose some kite.
Now it may mean weight, but he also might have a massive amount of carts, like a collection, and he might need to get rid of some.
Like the cupboard under his stairs is just an abundance of nylon fabric, and the static is just unbearable now.
He just keeps getting tied up in the strings.
Yeah, it goes upstairs to the toilet, and the hair on his head just stands up because of all the static around. Yeah, get rid of your damn kites, Matt. Come on, think it through,
I mean,
mate.
how can you tell anyone to get rid of anything? You are literally a hoarder. Get rid of your arcade. Is it your arcade machine or bandit in your garage?
It's a pool table, not an arcade machine.
Pool table. That's it. Pool table. Get rid of that.
Do you know what? Actually, on that note, you fucker, right? I on Twitter I posted about sending Liv to find a particular CD of mine. I mean, I don't know if you can make it out on the screen, but the shelves behind Big Bob there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of CDs, albums, and whatever behind there. There's one in particular I wanted to find. So Liv basically fleeced me for a few quid to come up here and find it for me.
You absolute born adult fucker. You would rather pay your child money to go and get a CD.
Yeah, but I wanted this particular CD because it was a band that didn't really do. They were a covers band that released. They did a few of their own tracks, and they released an EP back in the 90s. I saw them playing Gloucester and so on. I think they were literally just a bar band, like a pub band. They never did anything. Can't find them anywhere online because they weren't that big a deal. So no Spotify, nothing at all. So for me to play this in a potential future venture I'm looking into, I can't dive into too much right now. I'm still waiting for responses and so on. I need to find the actual disc, and I want to listen to it to see if it was as good as I remember, or if nostalgia is making me think, oh, that was great. I play it back and it's dog shite. I've not got a CD player, Mags.
Well, you have. Your computer will surely be a CD player.
No, there's no CD player or disc drive on my laptop.
Okay, what about ye olde desktop?
No, I don't know if that's got those speakers on it.
Right, but you could rip it to MP3, surely.
Right, this is what I was thinking. I've had to buy a little external disc drive thingy that's coming on Friday because I've not got anything. I thought it's all right just to listen to. I could chuck it in the DVD player, can't I?
Yeah.
And play it through the telly. So I've come upstairs and I've got my DVD player. It's literally right here. Got my DVD player, got the remote, got the SCART cable for it.
Was this a copy CD? Was it?
No. Proper bought one, yeah. Went up to the television in the bedroom. It's not got a SCART socket on the back. So how am I? So I went to the girls and I was like, "Have you got anything that plays a CD?" So Liv started googling if her PlayStation 5 can play CDs. It cannot.
No.
Charlie's not got anything. So yeah, basically, I was like, "Shit." So for all the talk about me being a hoarder and keeping shit, I actually needed something this week, and I don't own it.
So why didn't you go on your local Facebook marketplace and say, "Has anybody got a CD player?" I bet there's thousands of people looking to throw them away, but instead you bought one for a computer that you won't know how to work at all.
No, I looked into it. It says you just plug it in, you plug this thing in, and it just does it for you. So,
Jesus Christ,
£6, mate. Bargain. Anyway, yeah, Matt, get rid of your kites. Rob at UTT Rob. He says, "What do I want from sport in 2024? A taxi for Darren Moore." I'm assuming Darren Moore is the manager of Huddersfield Town.
Huddersfield. Yep.
Are they not doing
tough.
very well?
You're keeping him. I mean, when do Huddersfield do well?
They pissed the championship a few years ago, didn't they?
And then came straight back down.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, I can't call.
Yeah.
Burnley are doing absolute gash.
Oh, do you know what I was going to do this week? And I completely forgot because we're such a busy show this week.
You was going to mock me incessantly.
No. We spoke, didn't we, about Gloucester City's trophy cabinet and how it was empty and in the
They've
flood.
won a trophy.
No, don't be
They
fucking
found a
stupid.
trophy.
I looked up our trophy winning history and I was just going to chuck some out to you during the course of the show, but we're an hour and a quarter in, so I'm not going to do that. Next week, we're going to look. I'm going to give you facts about what Gloucester City have won.
I'm going to look them up and laugh.
Don't look them up and ruin it for next week. Wait till next week, and I can tell you about all the stuff we've won.
They've won their All Gloucester Cup, which is them and their reserve team.
There's a Gloucestershire County Cup, yeah, that they won.
Of course there is. and they turned up runners up to Cheltenham.
Yeah, like Cheltenham, Bristol Rovers are in it, I think, and then like Cinderford and all the places in the forest where everyone's got like 6 toes on each foot and shit like that. But the Southern League in 1923. There's history there, mate. So we'll talk about that next week, okay?
I take back all the comments I've said about Gloucester being absolutely dog shit.
Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, "Can't think of a life answer that isn't vaguely depressing." Okay. So I just want my friends and family to be happy, healthy, and prosperous. Yeah, that's a good shout.
That's a great shout.
Wrestling wise, I can't wait to see TNA return and hit the ground running, and I'd love a Gunter world title run in WWE. Gunter winning the world title, yeah, I'd like that. But the TNA thing, Maxie, I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you know anything about this. Obviously, Impact Wrestling is reverting back to its old name, its old branding, and so on.
It is, yes.
What is changing? Because the roster is going to be the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a brand change. All I know from it is what I've seen from Cultaholic. Tom Campbell from Cultaholic. He's been involved with TNA. I think he was recently the announcer for the UK leg of their tour, and he's going to be involved again when they come back later this year. But he says it is literally just a rebrand. It's just bringing back the name of TNA rather than it being Impact Wrestling, which I think is a good thing because I mean, as good as Impact is, and they are always going to be the little company that just keeps on plowing through. I have more of a love for the TNA version of that company. So yeah, I hope it gives them a big bump in viewership because they absolutely deserve it. And I'll definitely be doing my best to check out some TNA when it sets up. As with the Gunter title run, I think it would be brilliant. I think the guy has been a revelation with the Intercontinental title. My problem is the top of the WWE card is so heavy right now that where does he squeeze in? I mean, you've got potential title runs with Punk coming up, Cody Rhodes. After yesterday's Raw, The Rock. It's quite busy at the top of that card, so I don't know when Gunter squeezes himself in. I mean, you've still got LA Knight, who's massively popular and could be potentially world title a contender. So I'd love to see Gunter there, but I don't know when it's happening. Going on to that, have you seen the return of The Rock?
Yes, that crowd pop.
I remember a couple of weeks ago, I put Chris Jericho's debut on Raw, and that pop for Jericho is always going to be one of my favorite pops. But Jesus wept when The Rock's music hit. That stadium erupted, And
I watched the whole segment though, and I think that made it
Yeah.
even better because the whole segment with Jinder coming out and talking for a while, and the crowd basically had given up. Oh, it's so good.
Well, I was talking to friend of the show, Ray Cash, about the whole thing. And I gave massive props to Jinder because he was in a lose-lose situation. He was always going to be booed. For him to be that foil for Rock's comeback or Rock's promo, I suppose, props to him. But when that crowd popped and The Rock slapped his arm and he had goose pimples, I looked down at my own arm and I literally had the same goose pimples. It was just.
You had the same goose pimples as The Rock. What, do you share them?
We share the goose pimples. No, but I had goose pimples exactly at the time that The Rock had the goose pimples. It was just brilliant. And then the way he finished off that promo as well. It kind of looked like he was going a bit off kilter and not knowing how to sign off when he was talking about going for something to eat. And then he rolled it round to being the head of the table.
Yeah. Why? But also, you think about where Gunther fits in. The Rock ain't going to be there long term. And I think when Reigns drops the title, I think he's going to go away for a little while. So there's room. I think there could be room.
Hopefully so. And Gunther would he would look at like a legitimate world champion.
Yes, without a doubt. And finally, on Twitter, unless I have missed anybody out, we have King Pigsbladders himself, at Pigsbladders on Twitter. He says, everything I need or want are out of my control. So if they happen, great. If not, I'll keep awaiting. So I'd much rather the people around me, friends, family, and the CWF all get their hopes and dreams realized. Also, it doesn't matter if it's films, TV, wrestling, etc. Just entertain me. And I wanted to finish on that one because I think that is bloody lovely, Mags.
It is. From the moment he got involved with the CWF, he's been an absolute star of our little community. Each member of the CWF really brings something to the table, and King Pigsbladder he's brightened up the show for everyone involved. So I hope you do get the things that you are hoping to be better. And I thank you for the kind comments saying that you wish that we all get our hopes and dreams realized. And thanks for being you. Thanks for being just an absolute great guy, selfless, always trying to help. Yeah, we massively appreciate you. And we massively appreciate you all. Matt, Chris, Dan, Rob, you're all absolute superstars. None of you have to comment, none of you have to get involved, but you do, and we love you for it. And I'm not one for New Year's resolutions. I always think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure by setting yourself a target that if you don't stick to, you've lost. But I hope that Si and I can keep bringing you this entertainment. I hope you keep enjoying it for as long as possible. I hope you kind of echoing Chris and King Pigsbladders. I hope you all get everything that you want and deserve in the upcoming year. Yeah, and just keep being the absolute superstars that you are.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's it for Twitter, Magsy, and all that stuff. So is there anything else you want to add yourself for the coming year?
I literally just did a fucking 5-minute topic on that.
And that's why I said, is there anything else you want to add, dickhead?
Yeah, I want to win the lottery. Quite selfishly. And I could pack this podcasting bullshit in.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Anything for you, sir? What are your wishes for the upcoming 12 months?
The first one that springs to mind is obviously, family, friends all being healthy, but
that's a cop-out, really, isn't it?
Shut the fuck up and let me finish. But I'm being made a grandfather for the first time in February. That's the due date. So I hope that everything goes well there, obviously. And I suppose over the last year, I've had a couple of wobbles mental health-wise. I hope that I deal with things a little bit better in that aspect where I can. And a big thing is obviously the podcasting, the network itself, and so on. I just hope that I can carry on doing this and as I keep enjoying it. I hope other people carry on enjoying listening to it. And that's kind of it for me, Magsy. Really, I mean, I'm I don't think I need to improve on too much because I'm fucking great as I am. So
you are. I say that you're overreaching with some of those.
You reckon?
Great news about the grandkid coming up. Absolutely made up for you. You're going to be even more behind though before your first grandkid comes out, because over the Christmas period, grandkid number 6 popped out for us.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. On the 28th of December, Carlos and Kira brought little Freya into the world. So that's their third child, third girl. So 5 girls and 1 boy is my batting average.
Congratulations to you, Carlos, is a good lady, and the rest of the family as well.
She's a little star. So I can't wait for you to have the feeling of being a granddad. It's one of the best things in the world, because you get to show all the love that you did with your kids, then you get to give them back. So
yeah, I ain't changing no shitty nappies, I'll tell you that. Magsy, shall we dive through the chat? I ain't doing that. Shall we dive through the chat? We've got a few comments there from the CWF, and then we better talk a little bit of wrestling, hadn't we?
We shall. So King Pigs Banner says he loves the Detectorists. Great show. It is. It's not something I would normally watch as well. I'm not usually into those kind of like light-hearted comedy shows. But yes, there's just something about the character work. It's just brilliant. It's just such a brilliant show. Sharon says his desktop is older than time.
Oh yes.
Yeah. It's grim. It's yellow, folks. We know when they used to be grey and then they'd be discoloured with smoke. SARS is yellow.
It doesn't look like he's got some kind of nicotine issues.
Sharon says it's a new TV. Of course, it hasn't got a SCART UO4. I'm surprised. It is. I called him a hoarder earlier. Sai has a box of wires, and I'm surprised he doesn't have a SCART to HDMI wire in that box.
I don't know if that exists, does it?
A SCART to HDMI, of course it exists.
Does it?
It's only conversion.
So why haven't I got one of those? I'll tell you what, I've got my basket. Where is it? Down here. My basket just down there with all the wires and bits and it's literally a washing basket full of wires and stuff. Right. In fact,
a washing basket, folks, of wires.
You can make that out.
That's ridiculous.
You can see that there. But earlier on when I was downstairs, I found a carrier bag with another couple of wires in there as well. So I'm going to dive into that.
I bet you got a semi on when you were like that.
I'm going to wait till Shah goes to bed. I'm going to wait till Shah goes to bed. I'm going to have a little look what's in there. That could be interesting.
King Pig Banner says, thank you, guys. My pleasure. No, the pleasure is definitely all ours. We massively appreciate you. Sharon says, I don't normally do resolutions, but I have a few this year, very personal and achievable, so we shall see. And Sharon, I have no doubts whatsoever, knowing how driven you are, that you will achieve those. I have absolutely no doubts whatsoever.
One of them is to get me to move out.
She will achieve that. She will definitely achieve that. King Pig's Banner joining the train of love for our siblings' offsprings. Our offsprings, sorry. Says, I became a granddad again to twins on the 27th. Twin boys. That's amazing. So congratulations. I hope they bring you all the joy in the world. Sharon says, congratulations to the Mags clan. We love you. And I like you as well. No, you guys are amazing. I've said to Simon over the Christmas period how much I appreciate him and you all. You've been absolute stars with me over this past year, putting up with my bullshit. So thank you very much. Sharon giving King's Pigs Banner some congratulations. And Sharon says he has a drawer of wires now. So a drawer and a basket.
Yeah.
You need an intervention. You absolutely need an intervention.
I threw a I don't know if it was a box or a bag, but I threw a load out not long ago.
And I bet when Sharon was out or not looking, you went back and got that and brought her back in.
Thing is, you never know when you're going to need them, do you?
Do you know there's a kind of mantra if there's something in your house that you don't use for 6 months, you should throw it away.
Right.
How long have you had some of those wires?
Pig Splatter's in the chat there saying
He's got a bag of wires. No SCART to HDMI in his either. Sharon said we had twins too. This is King's again, 16 years old now.
bloody hell, fair play.
And he says, "Oh my god, I bet they're absolute blast." Yeah, twins would be amazing, wouldn't they? Twins would be. Do you not agree?
It's just double the cost, isn't it?
You're such a miser. You can make them share presents.
Oh yeah, good show.
And with having the kids so close to Christmas, gets one present.
Oh, see, no, because Charlie's birthday is the 22nd, and we can't.
Well.
I tell people they can't do that. No, they can't do that.
Agree to disagree. Freya may only be getting one present a year. Let's just warning you now, future Freya.
Yeah, when you go back and listen to the extensive Chain Wrestling back catalogue.
I want to know what my granddad made for content. Yeah. Absolute bastard. No, I only ever got one present a year.
Oh, man. Magsy, shall we talk a little bit of wrestling?
We definitely shall when I find the rumble button. I press it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Right then. I want a poll again. Woohoo! And we are going.
Wow. That was the most humble brag of the lot.
Yes, indeed. And we are looking at an NWA world title match, but it's from this century, which is unusual for my selections.
It is.
Very unusual. We are heading to I was going to say AEW, but it wasn't even AEW then, was it? We're heading
it was Bullet Club and Ring of Honor, weren't it?
Yeah. All In 2018. The NWA World Champion is Nick Aldis, and he is defending against Don't Call Him Rhodes, Cody, who has no neck tattoo. And now I've seen him with the neck tattoo for quite a while. It looks weird of it not being there, but I still rather that was the case.
Yeah, but better.
Yes. His neck looks longer without the tattoo. Did you notice that?
I mean, that might be just his muscle mass he's put on since being back in the WWE.
Yeah, that'd make more sense, to be fair. He's not Inspector Gadget. It's like Go Gadget neck.
Go Cody neck.
That's a t-shirt. We are. This was the one I watched. The link I watched was the Daily Motion link that I shared on Twitter earlier today for people who wanted to watch the match along. Did you watch it on now? Or did you watch it somewhere else, Max?
I watched a Daily Motion link. I don't know if it was the one you picked. Did yours start with half of the women's match before it?
No, I didn't get the entrances on mine.
Oh, well, I did. I got half of the women's match beforehand, and then the little video package build up, and then the entrances.
Oh, your link was better than my link.
Well, it looked like it was filmed on a potato.
What, your link?
Yeah.
So somebody with their phone up against the TV, is it?
No, it was definitely off the stream, but it was just very pixely sometimes.
Okay. My stream began with Cody getting in the ring, surrounded by a huge group of people. They're apparently part of the Nightmare family, people like DDP and so on. Aldis also had his little crew with him, with Jeff Jarrett and Tony Storm, but not that one. Was with him
Tim
as well.
Storm.
Tim Storm, there we go. Yes, not Tony Storm. That's somebody completely different. That's his niece. We then get introductions in the ring. And I just want to say that as much as people in the wrestling world say how great a referee Earl Hebner was and how well he did this and well he did that, this was absolute shit, wasn't it?
He's not good on the mark. There's a reason why referees aren't stickmen.
Yes. Did I ever tell you about watching him on an online signing, Earl Hebner?
I think you may have mentioned it. Was it a Facebook thing?
Yeah. It's the drunkest I've seen a man in my life. You know when you get so hammered that you get to that point where you're thinking, oh, am I going to be sick? And your saliva starts going a bit crazy. And do you know what I mean?
And you swallow it a lot.
Yeah, right. He's obviously at that point in the evening when he's doing this signing for this online thing. And I'm waiting. I've bought a picture. I'm waiting for Earl Hebner to sign it on screen and so on. And I've got it downstairs. It's Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and him from WrestleMania 12. And he says to Cy, and he signed it and so on. I'm waiting for that to come up. And he's got a bottle, I think like a bottle of like a pop bottle, like a Fanta or Coke bottle, or just a see-through bottle. And he keeps leaning out the way of the camera, but not quite getting out of the way to gob in it. Where he's like,
not even to
no, it's empty, to spit in it because he got that in it. And the guy doing, I mean, this is going back a good few years, but the guy doing the signing with him, obviously whose company this was, is having to put the pen in his hand sometimes and repeat over and over again. We're going to do that. You need to sign, and the amount of pictures they had to redo because he'd spelt like somebody's name wrong or something like that because he was annihilated, mate.
Wow. I mean, you'd have just postponed it, surely.
Maybe.
But what a knobhead. I mean,
yes.
It stole WWE intellectual property, selling the shit out of his van. He screwed Bret Hart. He screwed Hogan with the bait and switch. Yeah, so Earl Hebner's a bit of a bell end, isn't he?
He didn't. I'll defend him on the Bret Hart one because we all know deep down Bret screwed Bret. But anyway,
well, I know he was involved because he had his brother waiting outside with the car engine running so he could fuck off before Bret pinned him. So he was involved.
We get a handshake between the two competitors, which is nice. And then we get an unnecessary cartwheel from Cody Rhodes. Don't quite know what that was all about.
But even before the wrestling started, this felt huge. This, for me, it felt like a world title boxing match with the entourages and the elaborate introductions, and it felt massive. And we're talking about a title that a couple of years before this was in the toilet.
Yeah,
the NWA title. The NWA title meant almost less than nothing. And Nick Aldis, props to that guy. He carried that brand on his back to the point where this felt huge. It felt massive. And then you've got the whole event being built around Cody taking Dave Meltzer's bet of an indie event, selling 10,000 tickets, and absolutely smashing it out of the park. So it just felt huge. And it gets you invested. It really gets you invested. I mean, there were some things that I weren't exactly a fan of in the kind of lead up to the start of the match. The fact that they're bringing out Phoenix the dog, who's he's a kind of an emotional support dog. And with all the lights going off and the loudness of the crowd and the theme music, he did look a little bit.
He wasn't happy,
terrified.
I totally forgot about that because obviously I didn't get that on my version. Then I totally forgot that happened until you just mentioned it.
And then you also get Brandy strong arming herself into the beginning, which she's a dickhead. I have no love for Brandy Rhodes whatsoever. I think she's a prick. But yeah, it just felt massive. It just felt like an event, a massive event.
Yeah, indeed. The match begins with Nick Aldis working Cody's arm for a while before Cody hits a dropkick, which sends Aldis to the floor, and then we get a dive from Cody through the ropes onto the floor there. They scrap on the outside for a while, and Aldis then hits a vertical suplex on the floor and smashes Cody into the post. They go back into the ring, and then Aldis busts out a fisherman suplex, a perfect plex, and I thought that looked fantastic.
I think this whole beginning section of the match, it was I think Cody said it at the beginning of the kind of promotion for this. It felt like a love letter to old school wrestling. This match started like an old school kind of your era of NWA style matches where it was very catch as catch can style wrestling, and in an era and an event that was full of half flying and very choreographed moves. This stood out so much of a genuine callback to the glory days of territory wrestling. I absolutely was enthralled.
And again, it's got a sense of realism. We know it's not, but there's a sense of realism to it. And you're still getting the dives. You're still getting Cody bouncing off the ropes with, the springboards and all that sort of stuff, the aerial kind of aspect to it. But you haven't got 49 backflips to 10 people stood waiting to catch you, which completely takes me out of the moment. You can still have spectacular high spots without it looking like shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does get a bit clunky at one point, though. Like, I don't know if they kind of lose their way or there's a bit of a timing issue. Before they go into the double clothesline and then the double crossbody, and Cody misses a super kick, but Aldis still sells it.
He misses it by a long way as well.
Yes.
It's so, I mean, if there's one thing that you can give All In's production and this match in particular grief for is the cameras maybe should have cut away a few more times. I went green again, didn't I? I saw myself go green.
Yeah.
I don't know why. The cameras should have cut to different angles at certain points because they kind of give the game away a few times. But I mean, wrestling matches go wrong. It's how the wrestlers deal with it, and I think you've got two pretty good wrestlers in there, and they were able to kind of book on the fly, as we like to say.
Yeah. We end up back on the outside again. Well, Nick Aldis does. And then that's when we get Cody springboarding off the middle rope to the top rope to fly down to the floor. But he gets caught by an Aldis elbow or forearm or punch of some description. But when Cody did that, again, there's no flip involved or anything like that. But I thought that looked really good. Because the camera angle, the cameraman is obviously lower than Cody anyway, because he's on the floor. But I'm assuming he's knelt down a touch and looking up, and it made the distance that Cody traveled, seem so much further than I think he actually did if we looked at it from, like, say, the hard cam, for example.
Yeah, and it also made the impact of Nick Aldis' shot look that much more destructive. And that leads into probably the worst part of the match, and the part that this sullied. I mean, I mentioned it when you put it up as a pick. As good as the match is, this is the part of it that I will always remember because it went so badly wrong.
Right, I'm gonna need your assistance with this, then, Magsy, and I'll tell you why. One, we know my memory is not the greatest. It wasn't until you mentioned just then about the dog and the entrance that I'd completely forgotten about that. The version of this I watched online, we had Cody hitting the deck, Aldis hitting him, sorry. The ref throws up the X. DDP comes down to check on Cody. And then the next thing I know, the screen goes black. And then both guys are back in the ring and Cody's got a bit of blood on him. So anything that happened between DDP coming down and then them returning back into the ring just before Cody misses the moonsault, I didn't get on what I was watching. Okay, so you get the forearm. Cody goes down. Nick Aldis goes and lies on the ring apron to show just how out of it he was. Cody calls over the ref, Earl Hebner, whilst he's down. You can only assume it's because he's either lost his gig, which for those not in the know, gig is a little bit of a razor blade that people use to essentially blade. So you get blood. So Earl throws up the X. He goes and relays the information over to Nick Aldis about what's going on, and then DDP is sent down to kind of fill time whilst Cody
is able to find a way of gigging. He also, I assume, brings down another gig because the first thing he does is his hand goes into Cody's hand when he's checking on him. Then Davari comes down. They're obviously going to do something to distract the crowd, which absolutely makes sense. Davari pushes the ref. DDP gets in the ring, gives him the diamond cutter. But just before DDP gets in the ring, we get a shot from the camera of him lifting Cody up, and Cody's head is absolutely fine. Then DDP goes into the ring, does the diamond cutter. Cody's head has then gone under a table set up in the corner. I think it's for maybe some foreign announce team. And then when DDP is sent away from the ring, Cody's head rises from this table, and it's a crimson mask, a genuine JR style crimson mask. So it's no action with Cody and Nick Aldis has taken place in this time. So the only possible explanation is he gigged, he bladed, and it just. I mean, things like this happen, but
yes,
maybe they should have rolled with the punches and gone hard way, as the term is. And I understand why Cody wanted to bleed, because his dad was famous for bleeding. His dad coughed and he opened up a wound on his forehead. But yeah, the fact that he wasn't able to blade in time, and it goes on for so long. It's a good 3 to 4 minutes of Cody struggling to blade, which kind of takes you away from it. And again, this is where the camera shouldn't have been focused on Cody, knowing that he was struggling with this blading. It should have been crowd shots and maybe Nick Aldis and the referee, but no, they got a picture of his purely white, unbleeding face, and then 10 seconds later, bleeding like a stuck pig. So yeah.
Oh dear.
It's ridiculous.
Back in the ring, as I mentioned, Cody misses a moonsault. We then get a pretty cool fall-away slam, or Scott Hall-esque fall-away slam, but from the middle rope from Nick Aldis. That was quite cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, they called it a Samoan. Oh, what did they call it? A Samoan fall-away slam, something like that. I think the bit that you got caught up as well misses the Rhodes kind of snap slam, the one that Randy Orton does.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Yes.
Dustin Rhodes also does it, but this one, because Cody is bleeding, and the both guys are absolutely just pouring with sweat, he almost doesn't get it, and Nick Aldis's neck very, very nearly is destroyed. It's literally millimeters away from getting destroyed. But that's when they go on to the miss of the moonsault.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see any of that. So Cody applies figure 4, which is they roll through and roll through again before eventually they end up on the outside. We fight a bit more out there, then we get back in the ring, and then Cody attempts the Alabama Slam, which he doesn't quite get right with the first attempt. Looks a bit clunky, sells the back hurting, and then does it again. And when the first attempt didn't go well, it looked off. But then the selling of the back and then eventually hitting the move, ultimately, when you piece it all together, I thought that worked very well.
Yeah, it looked botchy at the beginning, but the way that they recovered, and this is where Excalibur comes in and comes in clutch by saying, "Oh, it is showing the pain from being from Nick Aldis targeting that back," which. He didn't target the back that much, to be quite fair, but it made sense and it kind of covered the story. But when he did pull off the Alabama Slam, the crowd went absolutely wild anyway. So it kind of almost worked as a spot. So props to him again for being able to recover from what was clearly an error.
Yeah. Cody misses the disaster kick, and then
Fucking
Aldis
hate
hits
the
a,
disaster kick.
yeah,
I
it's a
hate
bit
it. It's
shit,
a
isn't it?
horrible move. It
It's a bit
just
shit.
looks disgusting.
And Aldis hits a powerbomb, which looked vicious as hell, and then rolls Cody through into a cloverleaf that he can't quite sink on properly, but adjusts a few times. And again, because it wasn't completely smooth and perfect, it didn't look shit. It almost added to the realism of it by not being able to get it quite correct. But then we come to the part of the match, Magsy, that I'm really pissed off about. Nick Aldis hits a pile driver. Nothing wrong with that.
It was a very weird looking pile driver.
Right. Okay.
Like normally the head of the person being pile driven is in between the legs of the pile drive. Cody's head basically cracked into the thighs of Nick Aldis. He protected him like the Undertaker protected Hulk Hogan and damn near broke his back.
But again, I've got no major issues with that. But what happens next, I've got a big issue with. Aldis climbs to the top rope. We find out because of what happens in a few moments, he's going for a top rope elbow drop. Brandy Rhodes gets in the ring and starts trying to get in the way. It's almost like she's doing the whole, shall I throw in the towel aspect? I'm trying to protect him. He's done. And then Aldis comes off the top rope anyway. Brandy jumps across Cody and takes the elbow drop for him, which I disliked. I hated that whole segment of the match. I hated any involvement of Brandy there. That was completely unnecessary. It made Cody look like a bit of a bitch. But then what added to it being so shit was that Brandy sold it terribly.
Her legs, you get a second shot of it, and it's from like it's almost from the level of the ring, and her legs flop around like they're made out of jelly. It's ridiculous. I dislike Brandy with a passion. I think she has hooked her career onto Cody, and I don't think she's talented at all. I think that a lot of the stuff that she was doing in early AEW stunk the place out, and she held a lot of people back in the beginning of AEW, and she has this attitude that her shit doesn't stink. She gets into she got into Twitter wars. She used the race card multiple times. She used the gender card multiple times to get out of arguments that she'd caused. I dislike her, and I don't think there was any need for her to be involved at that spot. I think Nick Aldis could have hit the elbow and Cody kicked out, and it would have been absolutely fine.
Yeah, big pop from the crowd for like a 2.9 kick out or whatever. Yep.
But this was Brandy strong arming herself. I mean, she did it at the beginning. You obviously didn't see the intros, but the first intro is Brandy Rhodes coming out, and then it's Cody. She's just, like I said, she's hitched her wagon to Cody Rhodes, and she had to be involved. And yeah, she was annoying, and she probably still is annoying.
I didn't mind her as a ring announcer, to be fair. Was it NXT? She was okay, you know.
Was that,
again, not fantastic, but she was okay.
The Eden Styles era?
Oh, I don't know. That does ring a bell.
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay. Again, I kind of glitch a bit then on the stream I was watching, because effectively the next thing I see is a bit of a scuffle, a disaster kick, a crossroads, and then a 2 count.
Yep.
From that.
A barely a 2 count. Nick Aldis essentially tried to Hogan Cody. He no-sold that crossroads. He was out at 1. It was literally... You
want your wife involved, Cody? Fuck your finish. How's that sound?
Yeah, exactly. he proper no-sold it. But yeah, that happened.
We get a tease of a vertebraker then, don't we? Which doesn't quite happen before there is another attempt at a crossroads as well. And then effectively we go into, pretty out of nowhere, the Bret Hart British Bulldog SummerSlam 92 finish, the sunset flip attempt, and Cody hooks the legs, falls forward, and gets the 3 count, which I quite like. I don't think every title match or every big event has to finish on a guy's finish, so to speak.
Mhm.
Because then why are you covering them on other moves? It makes no sense. So I like the way that big matches finish without having to hit a big finishing move. But this felt incredibly out of the blue to me, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you could sense a finish coming. You could sense that they were getting into the last few minutes with attempting their finish moves. And I do agree with you that the SummerSlam '92 callback, I thought that was brilliant. And I also think it's not only a callback to that, but it's a callback to old classic NWA style wrestling where the roll up and sunset flip were finished where matches finished, but it was out of the blue. There didn't seem to be enough build for that to be the finish. But knowing how All In ran, there was a lot of matches that went well over the time. So perhaps it was a call by production. This needs to be wrapped up, because I know the main event ended up getting only like 10 minutes when it was due to be half an hour because so many other matches ran over. So perhaps it was that. Perhaps the guys just were shat enough to say, come on, let's call it a day. And we kind of didn't get that build up to the finish. But yeah, Cody gets the Bulldog finish and wins the NWA title.
There we go. Out of 10, Magsy, what are you thinking?
Now, normally we take the match just in its singularity. We don't usually include kind of like our emotions and the spectacle behind the match, but it's really hard to not include all the backstory of this match. This is a guy, love him or hate him, in Cody Rhodes, and I know Dan Griffin is not a fan, but this is a guy who has lived his whole wrestling career underneath one of the biggest shadows in wrestling. He could wrestle for 50 years and still be Dusty's son rather than Cody Rhodes.
And you got to bear in mind as well, Magsy, sorry to interrupt, for a long time, he wasn't even just Dusty's son. He was Dusty's other son.
Exactly. So he had a massive shadow that he lived in. So him leaving the WWE, where he could have had a average career but made a paycheck to bet on himself. As much as I'm not a massive fan of his style of wrestling, I can get behind the fact he bet on himself and was willing to do that slog to make the Cody Rhodes name rather than be in the shadow of Dusty. And to pay homage to his dad by holding the title that his dad made or helped to make famous, to bleed the way that his dad bled. And you could see how much it meant to him when he cries. And those tears are genuine tears. Yes. He's reliving moments that his dad had. And as bad as some parts of this match were, the gigging, the botching, I think I have to rate this match emotionally, because it felt so huge. So if in terms of the wrestling, it's probably a 6, a 7. But in terms of just being invested in the match, what the match meant, I'm so tempted to pull the trigger, but the blading stops me from doing that. So I'm going with a 9.
Wow. Okay. I don't know if the version of this match I got online with the 2 segments cut out for whatever reason has affected my opinion of it. I remember enjoying it so much more when the wife and I booked this event in 2018 than I did here. However, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. The blade in was a bit of a screw up. Brandy Rhodes, getting involved is a pain in the ass. That was bullshit. That was completely unnecessary, and that genuinely made me angry when that happened. But overall, it's good old school, proper wrestling, for want of a better phrase. but it's not spectacular. It's good. It's better than average, but it's not spectacular. So it's a 7 for me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I were to follow the rules, I suppose, of chain wrestling and just judge the match on its own, a 7 would 6, 7. But I can't help but remember how emotionally invested I was in this at the time. Being a fan of a certain vintage and remembering what Dusty Rhodes meant to the wrestling world, I can't not involve that in my judging. So I'm sticking with a 9.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Shall we then put forward a couple of options for next week's show and see where we're going to link to in this week's poll?
I don't know if you're going to like mine. So
okay, I'm pretty sure you're going to hate mine. But anyway, go on.
So we're back on the Cody Rhodes wagon, and the thing with Cody Rhodes now is he's trying to finish the story, even though he's been back with the WWF for a while now and he's not had the opportunity. So I thought, let's revisit him finishing the story. But I'm not going to go with his match against Seth Rollins in the Hell in a Cell. I'm not going to go with the Royal Rumble. I'm not going to go with his match against Roman Reigns. I'm going to go to when Cody Rhodes meant something in the WWE. I want to go to when Cody Rhodes was tag team champion with Hardcore Holly, and they lost the titles to Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes. Now, that match isn't very... Cody Rhodes and Hardcore Holly were the tag team champions.
Yes.
Ted DiBiase had a mystery partner who was running late, and that mystery partner was Cody Rhodes, and they beat Hardcore Holly for the tag team titles. But that match is only 1 minute 28 seconds long. So for a Brucey bonus, I also want to throw in the main event from that event. So the event is Night of Champions 2008. The main event was Triple H versus John Cena for the WWE title. So it's Cody Rhodes and Hardcore Holly versus Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes and Triple H versus John Cena for the WWE title.
So the comment that Dan Griffin has put in the chat there saying Mags following the rules, so that'll be the day, really does ring true, because somehow you've managed to get 2 matches in, and I say somehow, it's obvious how it's done, by completely ignoring the rules of the show once again.
There is a link. There is a link there, a very, very tenuous one. But
in that case, I'm going to use the link I've already got, go to the show I want to talk about, and I'm just going to pick the whole fucking pay-per-view. That's what's the whole...
I mean, if you really want me to stick to the rules, we can just watch a 1 minute 28 match, but there's not really a lot of meat on the bone there.
No, there's not, is there? Cool idea.
And the Triple H versus Cena match is very good.
Okay. That's an interesting idea, though, with the mystery partner being the other guy on the other team. That's quite clever.
Mm-hmm. It sounds clever. It leads up to the formation of Legacy, doesn't it?
Right. Okay. See, that sort of time, 2008, 9, 2007, I'm quite hazy on a lot of what happened.
A bit squiffy on it.
Yeah. Okie doke. It will surprise you, not in the slightest.
You have been waiting all Christmas to fucking throw in some. And your link is the NWA, and it's definitely Barry Windham versus some other old cunt in black and white.
My link isn't actually the NWA. No, my link is the name Rhodes, and I'm going to go to Brandy Rhodes versus. No, I'm not. I'm
The Nightmare Collective.
I would like to head back to. I thought it's a perfect chance for me to link back to what I love: old school Jim Coggin promotions, old school WCW, old school NWA, and we've looked at Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair and other aspects of that as well. And I thought I want to pick a Dusty match because we looked at his son and so on. Oh, Dan Griffin in the chat, Dusty Rhodes versus Barry Windham. I did look for one, believe it or not, but it's not. It's not. I would like to head to when Dusty taking on Flair and the Horseman was not petering out, but Flair in the main event picture was moving on to something else. So Dusty had to find something to do. So he almost dropped down a level and decided he's in his mind, he's dealt with with Ric Flair, even though Flair's still the world champion. Don't quite know how that worked out, Dusty, but okay. He's going to battle the rest of the Horsemen now. So he targets, first of all, the United States champion of this particular era. And I would like to head to Starrcade 1987, which, by the way, if you run through that card, is incredible. There's a brilliant Road Warriors match on there and all sorts of stuff. Really, really good stuff. But the US title match from Starrcade 87 involves Dusty Rhodes as the challenger, hence the link. And he is taking on Lex Luger, part of the Four Horsemen, in a steel cage. It's online in the countdowns and so on that I looked at, and different people talking about it online. It's apparently one of the top 3 matches of Dusty Rhodes' career. So I thought that could be quite interesting.
And also Lex Luger's best ever match.
Yeah, potentially.
No potential. No potential there. Absolutely.
But yes, it's a steel cage match. It's 1987. Jim Crockett Promotions NWA. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's got the rising star of Luger, who at the time in 87, 88 was very good. He hadn't had the car accident, and he was not. He was actually motivated back then, so he was doing some good stuff. Dusty Rhodes is charismatic as ever, of course. The whole history of the Horsemen and Dusty, I want to touch upon as well if this wins. So that's my option for the poll, Mags.
I may have to help King Pigs Batters with one of his resolutions. If your pick wins, he may have to take my place and be on this podcast because that's a shit pick.
Bollocks, is it? Have you seen that match?
Listen, I'm used to
Don't
watching.
Skirt around the question.
I'm used to watching wrestling in color.
It is in color.
Grey and black and white don't count.
It's a very, very good match. Anyway, those are your options for this week's poll, which will be out on our Twitter X account in the next few days. You have Night of Champions 2008, Cody Rhodes and Hardcore Holly versus Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes, and also Triple H versus John Cena thrown into the mix as well. Or you have Lex Luger versus Dusty Rhodes for the United States Championship in a steel cage from Starrcade 87. Make sure you're voting, retweeting, etc., etc., etc.
Brilliant. I can't wait
Shall we
to watch the Rhodes versus Luger match. Don't pick his pick again, CWF. I may go on strike. I actually may go on strike. If I have to watch shitty Dusty Rhodes, I apologize. Good Dusty Rhodes versus shitty Lex Luger.
Oh no, this is good Lex Luger. Shitty Lex
There's
Luger
never been a good Lex Luger.
Listen to you. Oh dear. Magsy, shall we dive through the chat before we have a little discussion?
Really want it now.
Okay. Well, let's not bother. Let's just go.
Now. I've actually accidentally skipped right back to the top. So 1 second, let me find it.
And I suppose we also have a little bit of Hulk Hogan telling some lies before we depart for the evening.
We may have. Dan Griffin, welcome in, sir. Did you enjoy the darts? He says Nick Aldis was an incredible NWA champion. The early days of Power were a lot of fun. Yeah, and then James Mitchell ended up fucking it up, and now the company's probably dead. King Pigsbatter says Aldis was the main reason anyone tuned into Power to begin with. Yeah, they mentioned on the All In show that him going on a tour, basically. Was it 20 defenses in 60 days or something like that, which is everyone was so invested in NWA and how quickly it fell back off again. Dan Griffith says Tim Storm was a very good babyface, and also there was Eddie Kingston, who this past week became a Triple Crown champion in AEW, which for somebody who was on the verge of quitting wrestling and then becoming so beloved again by the wrestling community. Yeah, props to Eddie Kingston. I mean, you can't not love him. He's just so good. King Pigsman says he fell in love with Eddie Kingston on Power. That also says Eden Styles was shit. Anything that Brandy Rhodes was involved in is absolutely shit. Dan Griffin says the only thing remotely interesting that Brandy's ever done was the Nightmare Collective, and that was because it was a bit weird and shit. I mean, even when she tried to do something remotely good for the community, when she set up AEW Heels, which was supposed to be this safe space for female wrestling fans, she had the fucking cheek to charge them 50 quid to be a part of it. So, yeah, she's a bellend. She's an absolute bellend. When they had her as chief brandy officer, cringe. Absolute cringe. Dan Griffin says, Mag's following rules, that'll be the day. And just as he said that, I broke the rules. Dan also says that's a Scottish Danny match. That is. Yes. I bet he's got it on VHS. He'll have it on Laserdisc, will Scottish Danny. Dan then says, can't believe you didn't go with Kane versus Mark Henry versus the Big Show. What a fuck. Meat slapping meat. But it was for the ECW title, and ECW didn't mean fuck all then, did it? So, and then we get the obligatory, we ate the NWA, Barry Windham, Dusty Rhodes versus Barry Windham, US champ Barry Windham. Fuck Luger, I'm voting for Mags. I would accept a 50-50. No, listen.
Interesting.
Dan, don't do that. Good. Lex Luger is still shit. The darts is great. That 16-year-old, 33-year-old has made the final. Yeah, we're talking about him at the beginning of the show. Is it Liam Littler? For a 16-year-old, he's got a little bit of a beer belly. I think he's had some rough years, but you know what? Good on him. Absolutely good on him. And Dan then says he was just sick in his mouth a little bit hearing Chief Brandy. I mean, how cringe is that? I get it. That's her gimmick name or whatever, Brandy, but fucking hell. Chief Brandy Officer. What a prick.
A couple of mentions there of NWA Power as well. My big memory of discovering Power and watching that was I loved it, by the way, the studio aspect. That was old NWA style, Jim Cocker Emotion style, Georgia wrestling style, and so on. But the theme music for the first season, they called it, of Power, done by the band Dockin, that was a belter, proper great 80s metal. Yeah, they did a theme tune for Nightmare on Elm Street film as well called Dream Warriors. That was good as well. That sort of shows their era, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, it was a good callback to wrestling of old was NWA Power, but then they go and fucked it up for themselves. So what can you do?
There we go.
Anyway, shall we tell a bit of Hulk Hogan Billy bullshit?
Let's do it.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, hanging from a telephone wire. Squirming, pants are burning. When I lie, my hips start turning.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Look, man, I made a mistake.
A very quick one today. Mr. Hulk Hogan claimed that he came up with the idea for the NWO, but instead of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, he wanted it to be him, the Booty Man, and the Nasty Boys.
I don't even want to. That makes me. You talk about being sick in your life a little bit about Chief Brandy Officer. That makes me feel ill. That's turned my stomach. That Hulk Hogan bullshit. Oh,
can you imagine
the Nasty Boys? Oh my god!
Jerry Saggs turning up to a Nitro and going, "You don't know, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here."
Jerry Saggs turning up to a random Nitro, just going, "You know who I am, and you don't fucking care."
You wish I weren't here.
Mr. Benny Mack in the chat there, giving us a thumbs up. Hi, Benny. Hope you're doing well.
How are you?
Awesome to see you checking in with us. Brilliant stuff, buddy. Magsy, we're basically done, aren't we? Do you want to let everyone know whereabouts they can find your good stuff online?
Yes, you can find me on the X as at Podfather Mags, but very rarely tweet and even rarely like and retweet stuff. So no point really following me on there. Or you can follow me on TikTok, where I've had a bit of a lull in posting chicken videos, but I'm certainly going to get back into it. For chicken, I missed out on chicken news, didn't I? Anyway, the chickens have got some new wood flooring in their chicken coop, which is very posh of them because they were sick of walking around in muddy, soupy mess. So
Okay.
there is that. So yeah, I'm going to be getting back to uploading chicken videos on my TikTok. That's at Podfarmer Mags. So give me a follow on there.
There we go. You can follow anything I'm involved in via the network that carries this show. That's at SJP World Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then you can also find all the shows as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all that stuff, all that great stuff you can find there at SJP World Media. But most importantly, you can find and follow this show itself and get involved in a non-wrestling topic and vote in the poll and all that stuff at @chain_wrestling. That's on Facebook and Twitter there. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us here on this kind of a weird one, an earlier start than normal, a different day than normal, but it's great to be back in this new year, and I hope that we continue to give you a couple of hours out of this shitty world and a little bit of entertainment, I guess, Maxie, because I enjoy doing it, so I hope people enjoy listening.
Yeah,
I'm off now.
We love you all.
We do indeed. I'm off now to go and sign this letter Jericho sent me because he tried to touch my PP and I'm not allowed to tell anyone about it. Maxie, I'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Barry Windham has syphilis.